my guest. We have two guests, one coming up later on. But for now, we have York Zucchi, who's the chief coffee drinker. That's his title, by the way, chief coffee drinker at York Zucchi and Partners. You have attitude. I have no doubt about that. Good afternoon.
And top of the afternoon to you, Ashraf.
Yeah, with a title like that, you just know that there's an attitude that comes through. Isn't it?
And I think you captured exactly the essence of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship is not a job. It's not a vocation. It's an attitude. And that's the attitude that I want to convey on the business cards in meetings.
Okay, so you sell what? You sell coffee?
Maybe a little bit of a background, 10 seconds. I'm Swiss, came to South Africa 4.5 years ago. I've worked in 9 companies all over the world. I got fired 5 times, quit 2, and 2 I made a little bit of money, allowing me to capitalize on Africa's enormous potential. Came here, started a couple of businesses that were an abysmal failure. In failure, you actually learn who your friends are. And out of those friends, we created a cooperative in primary healthcare. And today we employ 1,850 people. We run 320 clinics and have a reach across 24 countries in Africa.
So interesting one there. If you're saying the chief coffee drinker, that almost gives the impression you're in the coffee business.
Indeed.
Does it not throw offside, if I can call it that, in terms of what your business is all about? Or do you want people to ask you?
In part for me, coffee is a medium of communication. It's something where we sit over a coffee and we have a chat. And I think in this day and age, even as entrepreneurs, we are so focused on trying to monetize the digital channels, on trying to find the next business idea, that we forget to actually sit down over a nice coffee and have a good chat. Try to understand each other, understand what the need is of the client.
So in terms of your title, chief coffee drinker, then effectively what you're saying is, I'm the chief person in charge of understanding who you are so you can understand what my business is all about. Something like that.
Indeed. And if you'll forgive my humor or general accents of humor, then we'll have a wonderful coffee.
Of course. Right. 0891 104 207 if you want to join the conversation today. We're chatting to York Zucchi, chief coffee drinker at York Zucchi and Partners. Let's then move on. So in terms of your business, how good is it, considering you've had a whole string of failures?
Indeed. Well, out of failures you learn. Of course, you move on. And I think on the success side, all I did was tap into existing entrepreneurs who've been around the block for a couple of years, who know what they're doing, and persuaded them that together as a group we can achieve that much more.
You tapped into them, meaning what? Got their help or read their books or what?
And I think it boils down to, again, what is entrepreneurship? And its ability to bring people together, its ability to listen and to persuade people that you have something, a solution that can address their needs. And by working together as a group, different healthcare, we do pharmaceuticals, we do nursing, we do IT systems for clinics. By pulling all these together under one umbrella, we can actually help each other.
Okay, so I'm just thinking, you then enlisted the help of others who already were in business and were successful.
Or semi-successful, indeed, indeed.
And you then said what? Let's get together as a cooperative.
Well, I said, again, over a cup of coffee, and I said, listen, on your own, you've achieved phenomenal things, but how can we grow it to the next level? Together, maybe that is something that we can work on. I can drive a business while you bring those kind of solutions. You have that problem that may be addressed by somebody else. And it boils down again to entrepreneurship. Communicate with people. Stop clutching the idea. Let it go. Speak, pitch, disseminate, get feedback, constantly adapt and shape your business proposition until somebody says, you know what, that's exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm prepared to pay you for that.
Okay, so what I'm curious about is how were you able to convince the other guys, considering that you had lost so much before? Because what I'm saying is people approach you all the time. As you said, when you're in trouble, you then know who your friends are. But surely if anybody's going to invest in an idea, they invest in you. Right?
Indeed.
And they would look to say, okay, this guy's got a good idea, but let's just see what he's done in the past. And, it's to use a footballing analogy, you're not going to hire a coach who's had 10 teams that all got relegated. You want to hire a championship winning coach. So why would they? How did you convince them to back you?
Well, I don't believe much, or don't place much emphasis on the value of ideas per se. I place exactly that. We meet over a coffee and let me understand you as a person. What is your driver? What motivates you? Are you out there to achieve specific goal targets? Are you a practical person? I think most entrepreneurs get lost into this finding the next business idea. And my advice is ask yourself, so what? As in, so what are you doing about your business idea tomorrow morning? Make it practical.
Are you suggesting that many people dream, but that's the problem, they never wake up?
Absolutely. And look at how many entrepreneurs you've interviewed in your past shows and how many are entrepreneurs all over the place, opportunists rather than entrepreneurs? And I said entrepreneurship is an attitude. You go out with passion, you're interested, you're genuinely interested in trying to address the need of your potential client. Now, not everybody will be a client, but then at least start pitching until you find clients.
So if I then, obviously people listening and the plan is to inspire them to make some money for themselves. Goodness, we certainly want that, right? What then for you? I mean, if you can put it down to maybe 10 bits of inspiration, if you can.
Well, let's tie it in perhaps to your earlier conversation about racism. I actually think racism is a phenomenal idea for entrepreneurs. And that's the basis of my statement, is that we all should be racing towards a common goal, which is to help each other. So let's redefine racism per se. The reason I came to South Africa is because I find South Africa an unbelievable country. The people here are absolutely amazing, but they take each other for granted, like in a relationship. You don't appreciate your partner just as much. And I'm right now flirting with South Africans in the hope that you also wake up and see what amazing people you are and what potential you have here. 10 factors that you can. Well, like I said, focus on one thing. Don't get lost all over the place. Your business will adapt and change. What you tell me today your business is, it will be probably completely different what it will be a year from now. But at least if you went to a doctor and he told you that 3 hours a day he's a doctor, 3 hours he's a car mechanic, and 3 hours he's a taxi driver, how strong is your trust?
You wouldn't take him seriously.
Exactly. So focus on something and then provide value. What is it you're offering? Hi, I've got a product which nobody actually cares about. It won't help much. It may make you feel great.
How do you know that people want your product?
You don't.
When you haven't tried it. But how do you come to that, even a research decision to say, hold it, I think they will want this?
Okay, let's make it practical for your listeners as well. And a number of people that I also mentor is, how do you do it when you don't have money? You can't do big marketing researches and you can't bring it to market, your product or your service. Pitch it. Constantly pitch it. Tell your friends, tell Facebook. How many profile description on Facebook are just bland? Rather capture the essence of what it is you're trying to solve. And in that process, you will get people asking you questions. And if they start asking you questions that lead up to a potential contract, that's when you know you've got something that somebody's prepared to pay for.
So, for example, your card, going back to your chief coffee drinker, how many people that you don't say much about who you are, but you just swap cards, then respond to you the same day or later on and comment about, goodness, you intrigued me, that sort of thing.
Okay, but would that intrigue you? That's all very good. But so what, again, to the question, are you doing about it tomorrow? In other words, you meet a lot of people, you go out, you socialize, you call networking. But then what do you do once you've accumulated a couple of business cards and leads? Are you just going to send them a blank email or an email stating the classic, this is what I do, take it or leave it? Or are you saying, Ashraf, I've spoken to you, thank you so much for your time, really enjoyed your chat. What I gather that your current experience is this and this and this. I think my service or my product could address some of your needs. Or if you want to maintain the relationship, thank you very much for the chat. Look, I don't see any synergies between us, but let's keep the relationship going. And this is one of the issues that I found in South Africa, is most people are opportunistic rather than relationship-based. Build the relationship.
And the business will come.
And the business, hopefully, will come. Of course.
What about a lack of money? Lack of funding?
Lack of funding is a global phenomenon. It's not only South Africa. I am a great believer of starting businesses without funding. Now, I understand bills need to be paid and so forth and so on. But try to anticipate the need before you have your cost structure in place. I've met a couple of people who come to me and say, I need to open a company, a PTY Limited now, and I need to get a little office space and so forth. These are costs which you do not need right now. If I came to you, SAfm or SABC, and I said, look, I'm still an entrepreneur. This is where my position is. This is a service I'm going to prepare. This is how I mitigate the risk on your side of non-delivery. But please have a bit of understanding that I'm still an entrepreneurial phase, and I would love a lucky break. It's a different pitch than trying to pretend that you've got a nice office and cars. So
the question is, would you or should you pretend? I wonder what thing people tweeting and saying they're certainly enjoying the idea of being entrepreneurial. That's great. 0891 104 207. We've got about 5 more minutes to go with York Zucchi, chief coffee drinker at York Zucchi and Partners. So, okay, maybe then reflect on I mean, we asked you for 10 things. Maybe you've done 3. I don't know. Numbers don't really matter. What else? What other pieces of advice can you give wannabe entrepreneurs?
Okay, entrepreneurs, I would give you the advice. First, develop the right attitude. You want to help others. Whether there's money in it or not, ideally not in the short term, you're trying to help a problem. You're trying to solve a problem, rather. And
so it's not the same as helping others. What I'm saying is, often when we say help others, people think, okay, that's sort of giving of charity. Mm-hmm. You're saying solve a problem.
Solve a problem.
The problem is this: if it rains and you're walking and people have no umbrellas and you sell umbrellas to them, you're solving a problem. Is that the type of thing you're talking about? I mean, identifying gaps.
Well, that's the kind of opportunistic, because you've got to wait for the right condition until it rains before, and then you have to buy the stock of umbrellas. And how do you anticipate how many umbrellas you need to buy? So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. But my advice is really, really sit down with people and listen to them. And you'll always find that there's something you can do for them. And if you're very open and transparent, try to also discuss where your situation, where you're coming from, and saying, look, if it's possible and if your budget allows, please try and figure out a way that I can earn something from that just to pay at least the transport cost. If I may give you an example, my assistant, Kim, her day job as an assistant, but she's got another 9 months left before I fire her, on the condition that in these 9 months she has to start her own business. So, and this is what I would also encourage leaders out there, business managers. Go and help your staff get in a position so that they don't care about their job anymore. In other words, are self-sustaining.
Will they stay? Because what about job retention?
I'm, of course, tongue-in-cheek on the whole thing, but for example, in the example of Kim, she founded a company in Diepsloot that teaches people how to use Twitter, and then we rent them out to various functions and events around South Africa. Now, how much was it cost? Nothing. She borrowed 2 BlackBerries from me. I couldn't find them for 3 weeks. She trains them. She rents them out. There's no real cost. I have suggested that I would like a 25% stake in her business so that my interest in promoting her is still there. And so why not try that with your employees? Not everybody's an entrepreneur.
But is that the case that, we know that the country needs us to create our own jobs, but what about those many who say, I can work hard, I will work through instruction, but there's no way I will take the chance of leaving the safety net of having money guaranteed in the month, or to take the chance of driving my own. I'm just not that type of person.
Sure. Look, I've got a colleague and a close friend of mine, Forget, who started a business, Hello Books. It's an accounting for SMEs. And what she did is essentially had this problem. She was working in the corporate environment. She was terrified of lack of income to support her family. And so what we came to an agreement is that I provide a safety net for her and slowly transition. But let's say you don't have the luxury of knowing somebody who will support you. Well, why can't you become an intrapreneur? Somebody who has that entrepreneurial mindset, but within the organization, who can try to see how to do things better, even if nobody has asked him or her to do them better. Find a way. Do it without asking for budgets.
But don't those ideas get shut off? Where people say within a company, I've got a new idea that'll make the place better. Like, no, we've done it before last year like this. We don't need your input.
And it's often true. Look, I've worked for many years in the corporate sector, and it is true. Look, you get many people who shut it down because this is the way we've always done it. But if you look fundamentally, and I'm not saying it will always work out, but there's a lot of people making the suggestion, and the next sentence is, if you give me a budget to do it, why don't you try to do the small things that nobody cares about? Improve on those. Get a track record within your organization. Show and keep track of it. Write on a piece of paper, I've done this and improved that and improved that. And then today I can show you a track record of my delivery.
Okay. I wonder if, in fact, people do so. Right. We've got about 2 more minutes to go. Any last thoughts? Any things that we need to really remember?
I don't know better. Look, what worked for me may not work for you listeners out there. It's and I'm not suggesting it's easy. Some of you have day-to-day realities which I cannot even come close to comprehending. But as people have shown me, this is a country filled with unbelievable people. Go out, network, speak to people, use them as your salespeople, help each other, and together, racing together, we can actually achieve that much more.
Some just quick ones before I let you go. Raphael Facebooking, in fact, saying, Dear York, is it possible to rise to the highest levels of entrepreneurship without the capital boost required to make dreams an eventual reality, ? And then there's another one from Tulisha saying, that's the foundation, of course. So how can we help to instill an entrepreneurial attitude in youth? I mean, okay, answer that.
I'm not a coach, Denisha, so I don't know how to answer the question. I think you had Alan Reyes here on the show recently.
Yes, I did.
And he is the right person to ask, how do you institutionalize entrepreneurship? I'm just sharing my own experience. Raphael, your answer really depends on yourself. What drives you? Are you a lifestyle business? Are you a growth business? What is it that you're going to do for yourself that makes you happy? If it's a little corner shop and that makes you happy, fantastic, go for it. That is the highest achievement in entrepreneurship.
Okay, good way to leave it. Thanks so much. Entrepreneurship really depends on how you pitch yourself. I'm going to try and remember that. Well, thanks for your time, York. Indeed. I thought I'll come in for and buy some coffee, but I'm going to probably get offered coffee more than buy coffee from York Zucchi, the chief coffee drinker, as in CEO, by the way, of York Zucchi and Partners. Thanks so much for your time. I have to tell you what.